Hey everybody, this is Mr. Herring, and this lecture is going to go through a summary of Chapter 1 of Herb Zettle's book, Video Production 8. This is the book that they use at Palomar. So eventually, when we get this class aligned for college credit, this will help us to do that. So let's just jump in and say that there are some key terms at the beginning of each chapter, and these terms have made their way into our Quizlet that you've already seen, hopefully, so you can start to learn these terms. I'm just going to be summarizing this chapter. I'm not going to be reading it to you. Chapter 1 deals with the production process, and particularly there are 3 phases of production. You can see them right here. This is the important one. It's pre-production, production, and post-production. We're just going to be talking about pre-production today as you learn how to do digital media production. So when you are looking at the overall production, there's what's called a production model. This is what takes you from the beginning idea to the final product. And this chart here really helps you see the overall idea here. You've got a program objective, which is, like I'm going to say to you, hey, we want to, we got to make a commercial about, blood drive. There's a blood drive coming up. We got to make a commercial, right? So then you guys are going to be making an idea for it. And then from that idea, you're going to have what's called the program objective, that a desired effect. So it's not just that you're making a commercial about blood drive, but maybe your overall objective is you want kids to sign up and donate blood, right? And then you start to get into the script. And then as you're creating your script, you're going to be working on what are called medium requirements. So medium requirements, if you remember from the notes, deal with everything that's really not a script that comes before you actually start doing the work of filming. So a medium requirement might be, hey, I need somebody to work camera. George, can you work camera? And then you'll be like, oh, we need a camera. So working with Mr. Herring to sign out a camera. And then you need a location. And then you may need props. You may need special effects. There's a whole bunch of stuff you might need. We call those the medium requirements. And when you're dealing with a fancier production, a medium requirement would be your budget. You got to get your budget approved. And I think a big one for this class is schedule. That's part of the medium requirements, coming up with your production schedule, which is always a difficult in school when you're dealing with an idea. So when you're looking at that basic idea, but your basic idea, the idea you come up with, it has to do with something that's off campus, right? You'd really like to do a shoot off campus. Getting that schedule together so everybody's off campus together to make that happen, I will just tell you, is very difficult. It takes a lot of discipline and people holding their schedules together to make sure that happens. And then obviously at the end, you're going to have the message going out, and then how well it was received and feedback you can get there. So that is kind of what that chart goes through in an overview from start to finish, what you do in video production. As mentioned earlier, there are 3 phases of production, but we're just going to be looking at pre-production, which includes everything that goes up to when you actually start shooting on set or on a location. So as we look at like those ideas, when you guys sit down and start to generate ideas, you're going to want to brainstorm a bunch of different stuff. It's easy for the most type A person in your group to say, hey, I want to do a movie about this, or oh, we have to do a how-to video. I want to do it about that. And right away, everybody just kind of gets in line and says, okay, fine, let's do that. But it's really important that you have voice. And part of that voice is being able to brainstorm as a team. And I can just tell you, it's in school, it's very hard. It's quite easy to get into a group with a bunch of people that don't care. And it's so much better when you have a bunch of kids that are throwing out ideas and talking together to come up with what they agree is the best idea. And I'm going to skip some of these brainstorming techniques. Uh, and let's see, this one's really important for what we're talking about today, which is you're coming up with an idea. How do you go from the idea to the script? That's about as far as I want to go with this lecture today. So I'm going to skip down here and say there's what's called the program objective, and then it's your angle. So think about it like if your objective is what you want the people to understand. So we want people to understand that it's really important to donate blood, right? That they actually can, right? Now, what's our angle? We could comedically approach this, having somebody dress up as a drop of blood and all the crazy places they go as they go from donor to donor. This is what I'm talking about. It's sort of like, so there's a lot of ways to get to that objective. The ways in which you get to that objective is your angle. Whether maybe you want the principal to talk about how it's important. That's using like a testimonial, getting somebody very official to make it important. Uh, those are just a couple of ways you could approach a video about blood drive. So all those different approaches are your angle. If you're talking like a movie script, if your objective is to show how, like one we did last year was how to how through uh, conflict we go through an emotional change that makes us a better person, right? So that's kind of a general objective. That's what we want to kind of show, that through suffering we grow as people. But there's a lot of ways to get to that idea, and all those different story ideas are the different angles through which you get to that overall objective. And the one I want to focus on as we close this is the evaluation. So evaluation is like when your team, let's say you're like, oh yeah, we could do the one with the principal, or we could do the one where the drop of blood guy has a very funny comedic journey through life as he goes from donor to donor and all the wacky people he encounters as donors donate blood, and then blood is donated and given to somebody else. Circle of life kind of thing. Well, when you sit down and you go, okay, is this worth doing? That's like a big question you guys will have to answer. So, like, if you guys are not into the blood drop thing, like if you're sort of half and half on it, do not do that, because it's too much work for you to bend over backwards to try to get something done that you're not excited about. And then, is it doable? So when I say is it doable, what I want you to think is this: Mr. Herring will typically give you 2 weeks to do a commercial, and I'll typically give you 6 weeks to get a film done. So in that time, you would say, okay, do we have enough time to get this done? And a big part of time is, are you on campus? Is this all going to be on campus? And can we meet every day and take the cameras and go onto locations and shoot this in a certain number of days? Or is this something that's going to require of us going outside of school and working on a Saturday? And do we have time to do that? And can we really get that done? Uh, so, and another part of, I think, doable is just the length of the piece. So a lot of times, if you're coming up with a script idea, it it can sometimes be too long. your idea is so big that it just isn't doable. So those are all the things you guys should be thinking about. And I'll give it to you in kind of a structured piece of paper. So when you sit down to get organized on pre-production, you'll have these little buzzwords to help you check it with your group. But that would bring you to the script writing process. And I'm not going to go into script writing this lesson. We're going to save that for another week. But the only other thing I really want you to know is, in addition to script writing, you're working on what are called medium requirements. So this would be a producer pulling together actors, if you're doing the blood drop thing, costumes, special effects, locations, equipment, and then ultimately um, coming up with dates that people agree to meet on, and a way to transport people to and from locations. All these are part of the medium requirements, the work that needs to be done to get a production going. And this is a good way to look at it here. This last chart I do like. So you're going from that idea, hey, do something about blood drive. You got 2 weeks. You come up with your objective. Okay, our goal here is to get people to sign up for the blood drive. What's my angle? Well, I like that blood drop thing, but honestly, 2 weeks, let's just work with the principal, and we'll come up with a script for the principal, and we'll do an interview with the principal. Is it worth doing? Yes, because Mr. Herring assigned it. Is it doable? Yeah, I think we can get with the principal in the next 2 weeks and film that. So the evaluation equals, all right, that's a good way to go. Now let's sit down and actually write the script. And that's kind of the sum up of this particular lesson. I hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to go back and rewatch this. It gives you a good look at the chapter. And then do go into Quizlet and go through the flashcards so that you better understand the language of digital media production. Thanks a lot.